Imagine logging into your store analytics and realizing you're paying a third-party app like $500 a month to send emails to people who are guaranteed to buy your product anyway.
Yeah, that is a rough realization.
Right. You think you're investing in this super sophisticated recovery system, but you might actually just be paying a phantom tax on your own organic sales.
Exactly. It happens all the time.
So welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are untangling the incredibly messy, confusing, and honestly, potentially very lucrative world of Shopify's abandoned cart recovery.
It's amazing there.
It really is. We're pulling insights from this comprehensive 30-minute guide we found. It's titled Shopify Abandoned Cart Recovery: What's Free, What Isn't. And the mission today is to find the hidden money in your incomplete checkouts and figure out if you're inadvertently paying that phantom tax.
Because for anyone selling online, an abandoned checkout feels like a glaring failure, right?
Oh, totally. It's like leaving money on the table.
Exactly. You see the traffic on your dashboard, but you just don't see the revenue.
Yeah.
So the central tension we really want to resolve for you today is whether you should actually pay a monthly fee for a third-party tool to recover that money, or, and this is a big heart, or if Shopify's free, native features are enough to do the job.
Right.
My core belief is that knowledge is most valuable when it's applied. And in e-commerce, applied knowledge basically just means protecting your margins.
Protect the margins at all costs.
Always. So we're going to cut through the vendor hype, map out exactly what your store is already doing in the background for absolutely nothing, and then break down the specific mathematical threshold you need to cross before a paid upgrade makes any sense at all.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can recover a single dollar, we'll really have to define what an abandoned checkout actually is, like mechanically.
Right, the definition is everything here.
Because the source points out this massive point of confusion. People just throw around the terms cart and checkout and browse as if they're, all the exact same thing.
They really aren't.
No. In the architecture of Shopify, these are three completely different triggers.
Mm-hmm.
And they rely on entirely different sets of data.
They're structurally different.
Yeah.
And failing to distinguish them is, well, it's where merchants make their first big analytical mistake.
Yeah.
Because when a shopper is just browsing your site or, say, adding an item to their cart, they're usually just a session cookie in a browser. They are completely anonymous.
Right. You don't know who they are.
Exactly. Shopify's feature list might refer to abandoned cart recovery in their marketing materials, but the actual admin report, the thing you look at, is explicitly labeled abandoned checkout. The wording is honestly a trap.
Wow, a trap.
Yeah, because you cannot send a recovery email to a session cookie.
That makes total sense. I mean, you can't email someone if you literally don't have their email address.
Right.
So to trigger an actual abandoned checkout in Shopify's eyes, two very specific technical conditions have to be met. First, the customer must have crossed the threshold from the cart page into the actual checkout flow and typed in their email address or their phone number.
They have to provide that personally identifiable information, the PII.
Exactly, the PII. And then second, there has to be exactly 10 minutes of inactivity. Which, why 10 minutes?
That 10-minute window is actually really crucial. It exists to account for payment gateway latency or browser refreshes, or even just a customer taking a moment to dig their credit card out of their wallet.
Right, you don't want to harass them while they're typing.
Exactly. If Shopify triggered the abandonment protocol the second the window was closed, you'd be bombarding customers who were actively in the process of paying you.
Which is a terrible user experience.
Horrible. And what's fascinating here is why this strict definition matters to your broader business strategy. It literally sets the size of your opportunity.
How so?
Well, if you look at your total traffic and you're wondering why your recovery emails are only reaching this tiny, tiny fraction of those people, it's because you're confusing cart abandonment with checkout abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't understand this denominator, the true number of people who actually handed over their contact info and then vanished, your conversion rate math later on will be entirely corrupted. You'll be measuring the success of your recovery efforts against a phantom audience of anonymous window shoppers.
Okay, let me use an analogy here. It's like we're comparing a shopper looking at a window display or maybe carrying a sweater around the store.
Right, just browsing.
Yeah, comparing them to a shopper standing right at the cash register, putting their email on a loyalty list, and then suddenly sprinting out the door before swiping their card.
That's exactly it.
We are only hunting the sprinters.
Only the sprinters.
So how does Shopify let you go after those specific sprinters for free? Because the source details some very specific free lanes that I think merchants often just overlook.
They do. So Shopify gives you a standard allowance of 10,000 free marketing emails a month.
Okay, 10,000, that's decent.
It is. But the key detail from our source is that abandoned checkout automations are structurally exempt from that ledger. They sit completely outside your marketing quota.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Shopify processes them as transactional emails. That means they're always free and do not count toward your monthly limit at all, no matter your volume.
That is a massive advantage. But the guide reveals this bizarre complication in how you actually access this free lane.
Oh, the parallel systems.
Yeah, there are currently 2 generations of this free feature running in parallel. There's the legacy email system, which is kind of buried in your admin settings under checkout. And then there's the newer messaging automation, which operates through Shopify Flow and is found under apps, then messaging, then automations.
This parallel system is, honestly, the single biggest source of confusion for merchants setting up a new store right now.
I bet.
Because the current Shopify documentation is entirely focused on the new messaging app. It basically treats the old path as if it doesn't even exist.
But it does exist.
It does. The old legacy path still functions perfectly for stores that haven't migrated over.
But I'm looking at the capabilities of the new system, and it seems vastly superior, right? The new messaging automation allows for a second time to message, it integrates with Shopify Flow, and it opens up SMS as a channel.
Right. All true.
So given all that, why wouldn't a merchant just upgrade to the new system immediately? It seems totally illogical to stick with the legacy settings.
It does seem illogical until you read the fine print, which lays out a very specific technical trap.
Oh.
Yeah. Opting into the new automation is a permanent one-way door. The architecture of the new system does not support bidirectional syncing with the legacy system. The documentation states clearly, very clearly, that you cannot revert to the legacy abandoned checkout emails once the new automation activates.
Wow, so you're just stuck.
The bridge is burned the second you click that button.
A one-way door in back-end settings is incredibly rare. Usually if you try an app or a feature and you don't like it, you just, hit a toggle switch and turn it off.
Not here. And the trap actually deepens based on your subscription tier.
How so?
The new automation is completely walled off from the starter plan. You have to be on Basic, Grow, Advanced, or Plus to even use it. But more dangerously, if you cross that threshold specifically to get access to SMS recovery.
Right, because everyone wants to use SMS now.
Exactly. If you do that, you are permanently migrating to a system that introduces per-message SMS billing.
There it is.
You're moving from a completely free, risk-free legacy email system into an infrastructure specifically designed to upsell you on paid text messages.
That is sneaky.
This is why a 5-minute audit of your admin settings is absolutely critical before you click anything. You really need to know which architecture your store is currently running because Shopify does not explicitly tell you if recovery is switched on or off by default when you launch a store.
Wow. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because even if you navigate that one-way door successfully and you have your free emails firing perfectly, you're still operating with massive blind spots.
Huge blind spots.
You assume your recovery system is this, like blanket catching every single lost sale. But Shopify actually walls off specific sales channels entirely.
Yeah, the native recovery features only apply to the online store and the buy button channels. That's the literal limit of the API's reach for this specific tool.
Just those two?
Just those two. So if a customer abandons a checkout on Shopify POS or through the Shop app or on a third-party marketplace channel like Instagram or TikTok,
they get nothing.
Nothing. No email, no text, zero automated recovery effort from the native Shopify tools.
Wait, I want to clarify why that is, technically, because it feels like a glaring omission. I mean, why wouldn't a point-of-sale system which is owned by Shopify talk to the abandoned checkout system, which is also owned by Shopify?
It's a fair question. It mostly comes down to how the data is handled. A point-of-sale transaction often happens in an offline-capable environment, right? It syncs back to the cloud in batches.
Oh, sure.
But more importantly, the behavioral flow is just different. If a customer at a physical register changes their mind and walks away, the cashier just voids the cart. There is no natural step where the customer inputs their email address 10 minutes before payment.
Right. And as we discussed earlier, that's the required trigger.
Exactly. No email 10 minutes prior, no automated recovery.
And the exclusions get even more extreme if you run a B2B store. The source highlights that if you sell wholesale through Shopify's B2B features, abandoned checkout recovery, is one of 4 native features deliberately disabled by default.
Yes.
The others are like pickup in store, line item scripts, and gift cards at checkout. You actually have to contact Shopify support, open a ticket, and request them to manually switch it on. Why wall off B2B?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of corporate purchasing, it actually makes perfect sense. B2B transactions often involve, negotiated pricing, net 30 payment terms, and draft orders that require a manager's approval.
Oh, right. It's not just a quick impulse buy.
Exactly. A B2B buyer might put $50,000 of inventory in a cart, generate a draft order, and then wait 3 days for corporate to sign off on it.
Yeah.
If Shopify automatically fired a, "Hey, you forgot something, come back and pay via credit card" email 10 minutes later, it would completely break the corporate purchasing flow. And it could potentially send the wrong invoice data if line item scripts were adjusting the bulk price in the background.
Okay, that context changes everything.
Yeah.
That means an omni-channel merchant might be looking at a dashboard showing, say, $100,000 in total abandoned value across all their channels.
Right.
And they might price a paid recovery tool based on the assumption they can win a chunk of that entire pie. But in reality, the in-person, the marketplace, and the wholesale slices of that pie were never addressable in the first place.
Never.
They're building a business case on restricted data. It's like you just built a state-of-the-art security system for your front door, but you left the back doors wide open and didn't even realize it?
Precisely. You simply cannot recover a POS checkout with an online tool. Which really brings us to the threshold where a merchant, fully aware of their addressable online audience and the limitations of the native tools, decides they actually do need a paid upgrade.
Right.
Perhaps they want advanced segmentation, or they are just determined to use SMS despite the cost we talked about. The challenge then becomes actually justifying the price tag of a third-party app.
So let's break down the mechanics of those paid upgrades, starting with the native SMS pricing you just mentioned. There is no free tier for SMS. The source states it costs $0.012, so it's just over a penny per United States recipient.
Right, which sounds cheap.
It does. But the technical warning here is severe. The monthly spending threshold you configure in your Shopify settings is strictly an alert. It is not a hard cap.
That is a fundamental difference in API behavior. If you set a threshold of $50, the system will send you an alert when you hit $50.
Just an email saying, hey, you hit $50.
Exactly, but the API will not stop firing text messages. If you have a viral moment on TikTok and suddenly have 10,000 abandoned checkouts, Shopify will continue sending texts and billing you retroactively. It will not pause the campaign to protect your budget.
That is exactly how a minor oversight turns into a massive unexpected bill.
Oh, yeah.
And beyond native SMS, merchants usually look at dedicated recovery apps or like full email marketing platforms.
Sure.
You have Klaviyo, with a tiered structure starting at $20 a month for email, or $35 when bundled with SMS.
Yep.
You have Omnisend starting at $16. Then you have specialized apps like Retainful, Recart, or CartBoss, all utilizing completely different billing models, flat fees, tiered rates, or paper message. Comparing them by just listing their features is basically useless.
Because features don't pay the bills, margins do.
Right.
The only reliable way to compare these tools is by calculating exactly how many recovered orders it takes to pay for the software itself.
So what does this all mean? Let's run the math using the exact blueprint from the guide, because this is so crucial.
Let's do it.
Imagine your store has 300 abandoned checkouts a month, and your average checkout value is $85. But you don't keep that $85, obviously. You have to factor in the cost of goods sold.
Right, your costs.
Let's say your gross margin is 55%. When you multiply your $85 checkout by your 55% margin, you determine that one recovered order puts exactly $46.75 of gross profit in your bank account.
That specific figure, your gross profit per recovered order, is literally the only yardstick that matters. It strips away all those top-line vanity metrics and focuses entirely on actual profit.
Based on that yardstick, if you look at a paid lane like Klaviyo's $20 entry tier, you literally only need one recovered order out of those 300 abandoned checkouts to pay for the software for the entire month.
Just one.
One order puts you in the green. It sounds completely foolproof.
It sounds foolproof, but this is where the logic often breaks down for people. Yes, generating one order sounds like a remarkably low bar. But a paid tool does not just have to generate an order, it must generate uplift. It has to recover an order that the free native Shopify email would have lost.
Right, because if you install a paid app and its dashboard proudly displays like a 3% conversion rate.
Mm-hmm.
But your free Shopify automation was already hitting a 3% conversion rate before you turned it off.
You haven't gained anything.
Exactly. You haven't gained anything. You are paying $20 or $50 or $100 a month for zero additional revenue.
You're paying for software to do the exact same work you were already getting for free. The requirement for a paid tool must be measured strictly in extra orders, not total orders, which naturally leads to a problem of trust.
Oh, absolutely.
If a vendor's survival depends on proving they generate uplift, you can be certain their dashboard is engineered to claim as much credit as technically possible.
This is exactly what I was thinking. How does the software manipulate that math? Because the published benchmarks in the source guide are wildly inconsistent.
They're all over the place.
Yeah, like OnThisIn claims a 1.51% conversion rate, but they measure that metric per email sent. Klaviyo points to data from over 143,000 flows and claims a 3.3% placed order rate, but they measure it per recipient.
Right.
And then you have the widely cited Baymart Institute statistic claiming that 70% of carts are abandoned. It's a mess.
The Baymart statistic is actually the perfect example of statistical noise. It is an aggregate average of 50 separate studies encompassing all cart abandonments, including those anonymous session cookies we discussed earlier.
The window shoppers.
Exactly. It is not a Shopify-specific metric, and it is not measuring checkouts where PII was actually captured. You have 3 different companies measuring 3 different technical fractions using 3 different denominators. Averaging them together gives you a number that describes absolutely nothing about your specific store.
And it gets even worse when you look at attribution tracking. The guide explains how these vendor dashboards actually attribute revenue to themselves. It's usually based on a view-through or a click-through window using tracking pixels.
Right.
So if a customer receives a recovery email and their Apple Mail client preloads the invisible tracking pixel, the software registers that as an open.
Even if they never actually looked at it.
Right. If that customer ignores the email but remembers the product 2 days later, goes directly to your homepage on their own and buys it, the vendor dashboard draws a straight line between that pixel firing and the organic purchase. It takes full credit for the sale.
Which is the literal definition of a phantom tax. The software is claiming revenue it merely witnessed, not revenue it created. This raises an important question. How can you actually isolate the revenue the tool is genuinely responsible for?
And the source provides a definitive answer here, the holdout test.
Yes, the holdout test.
Okay, explain the mechanics of this, because the concept of a holdout test initially sounds like terrible business advice. Like you intentionally segment a slice of your abandoned checkout, say 20%, and you keep them completely out of the recovery flow.
Yep, they get nothing.
Right. No emails, no texts, absolutely nothing. You are purposefully letting 1 in 5 potential recoveries walk out the door. Why on earth would you intentionally lose money just to test a piece of software?
I totally understand the resistance to it. It feels very counterintuitive to leave money on the table. But a holdout test is the only scientifically rigorous way to establish your organic baseline.
Okay.
You measure the natural return rate of the 20% who received nothing against the 80% who received the paid app's automated sequence.
Oh, I see the logic now.
Yeah.
So if the holdout group that received 0 emails naturally recovers at 2%, meaning they just remembered and came back on their own.
Which happens a lot.
Right. And then the group receiving the expensive third-party emails recovers at 2.5%. You just exposed the dashboard. The tool isn't driving a 2.5% conversion rate. It's only driving a 0.5% uplift.
Exactly. Without that holdout group, the vendor dashboard takes credit for the entire 2.5%. It hides the fact that the vast majority of those customers were going to buy anyway. Your own internal test, with a control group held back, is the only mechanism that can tell you if a paid lane is genuinely clearing your break-even yardstick with new incremental revenue.
That completely reframes how you have to look at these analytics platforms.
Yeah.
You basically have to assume they are biased by default.
Always assume they are biased.
So let's synthesize all of this so you, the listener, have a concrete action plan for untangling this mess on your own store.
Let's do it.
First, define your checkouts technically. Remember that Shopify only triggers an abandoned checkout if the user provides PII and the system detects 10 minutes of inactivity. Don't confuse this with anonymous cart abandonment. Crucial first step. Second, do the 5-minute admin audit. Check your orders, inspect your apps, and dive into your settings to see which free architecture your store is actually currently running.
Find out where you are.
Third, beware the one-way door. Do not activate the new messaging automation unless you fully understand that you cannot revert to the legacy system and you are prepared for the potential architecture of paid SMS.
Yeah, do not click that button lightly.
And fourth, calculate your specific break-even yardstick. Take your margin, multiply it by your average order value. Use a holdout test to measure true uplift before you commit to a monthly subscription.
Just remember that no vendor selling a recovery tool is financially incentivized to tell you what you were already getting for free. Only your own baseline data can reveal that to you. Activate the free legacy lane, run it for a full month to establish a statistically significant baseline, and then let your own margins dictate whether an upgrade is necessary.
Perfect. But before we wrap up this deep dive, there is one final, highly unusual billing structure detailed in the source that completely subverts everything we just discussed about break-even math.
Oh, right, the percentage model.
Yeah. We analyzed flat fee apps and per message apps. But then there is the percentage model, utilized by tools like Liver Recover. Instead of charging a monthly subscription or a per message fee, they charge a flat percentage, often around 15% of the specific revenue they successfully recover.
It's a fascinating structural pivot because it entirely breaks the break-even frame we just established.
Yeah.
Because there is no fixed monthly fee, there's no mathematical threshold you have to clear just to stay profitable. If the software fails to recover a single dollar, you pay exactly $0.
Right.
So technically speaking, a percentage model can never fail to pay for itself.
It sounds like the ultimate risk-free proposition. But there is a massive catch embedded in that structure. By eliminating the risk of a slow month, you're trading away your upside. You're giving the vendor a permanent, infinite slice of your successful recovery orders forever.
And that is the tension I want you to mull over as you audit your own store. A flat fee carries the risk of not earning it back if your traffic dips. But a percentage model has absolutely no ceiling on what it can cost you if it performs incredibly well.
Wow.
So at what scale does a completely risk-free percentage model become the most expensive business decision you have ever made?